My name is Melanie Flores, and I started Propel Consulting about 2 years ago. So basically, what I do is I work with nonprofits and institutions of higher education in grants management, grant writing, and program development for marginalized communities. I came up with the name Propel because I really felt it was important to have a positive and empowering kind of message that I was sending to nonprofits about sharing their mission and vision and propelling that forward. And so that's why I chose that name. I started working at a nonprofit straight out of college. And so all my career has been in nonprofits and education, particularly. And so I started off at a nonprofit and kind of worked my way up in that organization for about 10 years and transitioned over to higher education. And just the expertise that I've gained along the way and the experience that I've gained is what kind of motivated me to start something on my own and to keep doing that, but on my own terms in a sense, and really support nonprofits and education programs. A few success stories ever since I started my business, which has kind of empowered me to know that I'm on the right track. But when I first started Propel Consulting, a lot of the nonprofits that I was working with, I was supporting in their grants writing. And so some success stories is when the nonprofits win grants. That's always a win for both of us because it makes me feel validated in supporting them and they get to continue the work that they're doing. More recently, I'm working with a nonprofit who's developing career education programs for high school and college students. And I absolutely love that because I think it's important to just prepare students all around for the workforce. And so I'm having a lot of fun with that project right now. The top three things that I love about what I'm doing is that I really get to be transparent in working with the nonprofits in terms of their vision and their mission, and be able to kind of share with them the importance of equity and the things that they're doing. And so I think that's my favorite piece is really being able to do that in a transparent, honest, and collaborative way. I love collaborating and working with nonprofits and just bringing heads together. I love doing my own thing because I have a family and it allows me the flexibility to do what I love and the time that I love and not take away from my responsibilities at home. And so I think those are probably the top two things that I love to do and find more joy in. And because I came from a nonprofit space, I have a bias, but I really understand and respect the value that they bring to students because it brought me a lot of value when I was a student. So be able to kind of turn around and pave that forward is really enjoyable for me. My personal story in my work with nonprofits, I started working for a small nonprofit in Chicago, in the kind of like Humble Park area where that worked with Latinx and African American students in post-secondary readiness. And that was super important to me because when it came to my college going experience, my parents weren't necessarily in the space to be able to provide me with information or knowledge or how that just navigating like the college space. And I've dealt with inequities in education and microaggressions in my experience in going to college. And so being able to work with nonprofits who are supporting students with an equity lens and a social justice lens is super important to me because it's something that I know I would have benefited from had I had that kind of support. But I also, on the other end, had a nonprofit that did advocate for me when others didn't and didn't know how to share, the next steps for college. And it was because of that nonprofit's called Aspira in Chicago, I was able to go to college because they were able to support that process. And so again, like just that experience as a young Latina was pivotal for me and definitely a motivator for why I do what I do. My approach to serving nonprofits or just institutions of higher education is again to do it with an equity lens, to understand what are the external environments that are happening at that time and how they're affecting students. And understanding the student voice, I think, is super important in the work that I do, or the community voice for nonprofits that are serving the community, because when they know what that voice is saying, they know how to better serve. And so My approach is really making sure I have all the information and have collected all the data and all the research, and understanding best practices, whether that's in developing programs for the students or communities, or that's finding grants that match a nonprofit, understanding what that looks like for them. When I first joined ACN, I think within the week I was asked to be a part of the programming committee. And I think that stemmed from just my work in program development and in that space. I think that having an organization like ACN as a resource is an amazing thing. And I definitely found value in it early on. I really am enjoying the direction that ACN is going, especially in terms of jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, and making sure the community knows its dedication to diversity, equity, inclusion in the nonprofit space and in the consultant space. And I'm hoping to continue to see more of that, because there are a lot of consultants of color who could use resources like ACN and need to know about it. And at the same time, ACN can also find value in the voices of consultants of color. And so I'm excited that, my volunteer experience is kind of being able to witness those pieces and hopefully play a small role in that as well. I am really enjoying working with Brian. I think that he's taken lead, even though he came on shortly after I did in the role of co-chair, but he has so many great ideas, and I think really wants to try new things, which I think you can find a lot of value in, instead of doing things the way you've always done it just because it works, right? And so he really is, I think, challenging some of the processes that ACN has had in place, but in a way that's gonna make really good improvements. And so he's just a great person to know and have at your table for sure. I've had conversations with other members of ACN in terms of the work that I do and ideas of how to push that forward. And so that's been very valuable. I'm hoping to have more of that, which is, why I continued my membership, because I want to get to learn from other consultants and see what they're doing and what works. And if there are opportunities to collaborate in the future, I'm certainly welcome to that. So as a member, I definitely took advantage of RFPs when they came in. I think my first month or so, an RFP came in about someone who was in services of grant writing, and I was able to work with that client and then worked with them again the next year. So that was already a win for me. Like, in my mind, I had already gained back my investment as a member in ACN just with that. And so that definitely made it worth it. That's just one of two that I can think of that I was able to benefit from in terms of the resources that ACN provides. So as a consultant, I think that's amazing to have that opportunity. Tips for new members is to always remember that you're going to get out what you put in. And so if you want to really take advantage of ACN as a resource and as a network, you need to get involved and communicate and build relationships for sure. Probably Aruba. Harry Potter. Chocolate. Spanish, R&B, or salsa. Salsa, the one big one my dad used to always listen to, is called El Gran Combo. The most recent person I can think of, because I saw a movie, is Ryan Reynolds. My mom. She is probably the one that instilled this whole passion for education in me. She always said, you're going to go to school, you're going to go to college, you have no choice kind of thing. But she was a high school dropout. And so she felt convicted that she was always telling me that I needed to go to school, but she hadn't finished. So she went back and got her GED. And while I was in college, she graduated with her bachelor's. So